I'm here today, though, to introduce our keynote speaker, Geoffrey Kasselman. Geoffrey is a partner and senior vice president, workplace strategy at CRG, and provides clients with future-proofing strategies for their real estate holdings and workplaces. He is also an innovation-minded business futurist and global speaker on topics like mobility, sustainability, e-commerce, supply chain, and disruptive technologies. His remarks will focus on how big trends in the U.S. and global economies will shape commercial real estate in Milwaukee and the upper Midwest. Geoffrey has been such a great partner to our industry. He is a past president of SIOR, the Society of Industrial and Office Realtors, and he participated with CARW when we were in the middle of the pandemic and still wanted to provide information and insights to our members by doing a program called 1 Year Later. He is a soldier and he is tremendously knowledgeable. You are going to really enjoy this presentation. I asked Geoffrey for a fun fact. He gave me 3. I'm going to share one. He was an extra in the movie Slapshot. So that's pretty interesting. All right, without further ado, please welcome Geoffrey Kasselman.
So that's a true fact about Slapshot, but you can't see me unless you know what I looked like when I was 13 years old. Johnstown, Pennsylvania is where it was filmed, in case you're wondering. How many people saw that movie, by the way? Pretty awesome, right? It's not bad. I wasn't allowed to see it till I was 18. That's true. My parents wouldn't let me see it till I was 18. Okay, so anyways, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I better get my clicker here. I'm going to cover a lot of ground really quickly, so put on your safety belts. And let's get started. From the outside looking in, I'm not that far away. I'm from Chicago, and I come to Milwaukee all the time, and I do real estate development, among other things, and we look in this market all the time. So I don't know that I'm really outside, but a little bit outside. Anyways, I use quotes to speak, and the first quote that you see here really does a good job of setting the table. There's storm clouds on the horizon. I think we all see them coming. Are they big? Are they bad? We're going to break it down pretty quick. But hopefully today isn't about waiting for the storm. It's about learning to dance in the rain. Good place to start, right? It's also about the gargantuan amount of change that's headed our way. It's not my fault. I'm just the messenger here, okay? Just try to remember that. The world is changing. It's changing super fast. And hopefully I can convince you it's changing faster and more robustly than you probably thought it was when you walked in the room. This quote really stresses that nicely. It's a transformation unlike anything we've seen before. And just to reinforce the point, Ray Kurzweil, a very famous guy, you can Google him and see what he's all about. In fact, we'll hear from him a little bit later in the presentation, has been quoted as saying, we won't experience 100 years of progress in the next 100 years. It will be more like 20,000 years. And by the way, this was a low ball. He thinks it's 40,000 or 50,000 years worth of progress in 100 years worth of time. And we're going to cover that right now. Okay? So now I hopefully have your attention. We're going to go through sort of my top 10 takeaways from the outside looking in. Certainly X factors, we'll talk about those. We'll close with real estate impact and opportunity. They're sort of both, right? Here's how the impact's going to occur or where the impact's going to be, but it also creates opportunities. Hopefully what you'll take away from that is this is about abundance. This is about opportunity. It's about a chance for all of us in the room to pivot, to upskill, to partner differently, and to make more money and serve our clients better than we already are. The Q&A via the podcast, as you saw. If you want to tweet, if you want to post, do social, I know that BizTimes and CARW and Marquette and everybody would appreciate that. Okay, so takeaway number one of 10. You can't really have this conversation without talking about economic indicators. These are things that I watch. You probably watch many of the same things. For the moment, I just want to comment on inflation. What you see here shows that inflation, while a thing, it does cost more to buy stuff. It costs more to fill up with gas. It costs more to buy bread. They're giving us smaller portions and charging us more for it. We've all seen that, right? It's a real thing, but it's all relative. It's not a U.S. phenomena. It's a global phenomena. And relatively speaking, what's happening in the United States really isn't so bad when you look around the world and see what inflation is doing elsewhere. This isn't a Republican thing. It's not a Democratic thing. You know what it is? It's a COVID thing. COVID came through like a tsunami, didn't it? And it wrecked everything in its path, and it's retreated, we hope, we think. We'll see what happens this winter. We think it's retreated, it's under control, but it's left a path of destruction. What really happened is the supply chain got turned upside down. That's the story of inflation. It's going to abate here very soon. As part of this economic indicators, let's talk about interest rates for a minute. There's some good news here on the screen. Yes, they're up, and they're up sharply, but they were artificially low for way too long. Again, it's a relativity. It's about the relative aspect of where they are. If you look at the bottom, and you look at the prime rate history from 1930 to current times, it's still historically low and affordable. Think of all the development. Think of all the things that happened between 1930 and now at a higher rate of interest, successfully. Okay, and some of these other charts sort of show you it's expected to crest or peak in early 2023, flatten, and eventually subside a little bit. But where they are now is likely to be close to where they're going to be, okay? But affordable. Let's talk about these three things. Unemployment, this is the one that kind of scares me the most. If you look at the bottom and you see some red bars pointing down, generally speaking, that's not good. If it was good, it would be green and they'd be pointing up, right? Early 2023, first couple quarters, I hope most of the corporations that do large-scale layoffs wait till after the holidays to do it so people can get through the holidays with some relatively good times and some security. But I do think there's some big layoffs coming, not just locally, but everywhere. The good news here is that housing starts have only receded a little, not a lot, and the projection, which is the red dots, the red line and the red dots on the upper right, is to stabilize and remain strong. This is such an engine for our economy. It's really an important indicator to watch. Also, consumer confidence is kind of bouncing at a reasonably decent level. It's worth watching because consumers contribute 80% to our GDP in the United States, right? So if they have confidence and they have spending power and they're spending, then the economy's going to be doing okay, recession or not. By the way, how many people think we're in a recession? Show of hands. Okay, less than I thought. I think we're in a recession. They just haven't announced it yet, right? We're just waiting for the announcement, but the recession's already upon us. It's a mild one, and I wouldn't be surprised if it sort of does this for the next couple years. 2 good quarters, 2 bad quarters, a good quarter, a bad quarter. It's going to bounce, but it's not going to be catastrophic. Number 2, and I'm not going to dwell on this, but I do want to make a couple points here. Geopolitics do matter. They've never mattered more. The Supreme Court, in overturning Roe v. Wade, has sent a signal that they believe the authority to make policy resides with the states, not with the federal government. And you can expect more of that to come from the Supreme Court on almost any issue, which means instead of worrying about who our United States senators and Congress people are, we need to know who our local politicians are, because that's where the rubber is going to hit the road for the foreseeable future. It's a really important point. Wisconsin's got plenty of politics. My home state, Michigan, plenty. Illinois, plenty. We're all in this together. Broadening that a little bit, I think we're in the China era, and the chart in the middle sort of shows that. By 2024, it's the largest economy in the world. Has anybody been to China, by the way? I've been there 3 times, and the scope and the scale and the sheer audacity of what they're doing there is breathtaking. And if you're not quite aware of just how big and how much and how capable they are, you've underestimated them. Once it's China's era, and they play for centuries, right? They play for centuries. They play long ball, as we say. They want Taiwan. I don't know that we can really stop them. I hope I'm wrong. We're going to find out, though. We're going to find out around 2024, 2025, when they become the largest economy. They already own all our T-bills. So it's a challenge for us, right? UK's in recession because of Brexit, much worse than what we're talking about here, but they're a huge trading partner for us and for other places around the world. It's relevant. Reshoring's a thing. Hopefully, Wisconsin and the upper Midwest can ultimately be a beneficiary there. We're more connected globally than we've ever been before. Now, how many people saw this week? What milestone did we pass? 8 billion people on the Earth, on our way to 10. By the way, that will eventually peak and drop, believe it or not, for all kinds of reasons, but that's probably a different presentation. Takeaway number 3, climate change. But we don't call it climate change necessarily. We call it decarbonization, taking carbon out, taking carbon away, right? In the meantime, the electrification of everything on a new scale, on a global scale, is upon us. And so it's decarbonization and electrification of everything. I own an energy company, and I can tell you factually, ESG is a thing, climate change is a thing. The priority to manage energy spend has never been higher. There's new legislation, the Infrastructure Investment Jobs Act, right? The Inflation Reduction Act is loaded with opportunities for people to play in this space. And so it's being monetized with an ROI purpose, a profit motive that's going to simply accelerate it. Yes, you are going to see spot shortages of materials and things like that. What it mean for us? It means that storms are going to get worse and more frequent. It means the sea really is going to rise, not just a little bit, but a lot in our lifetimes. Again, I think that really bodes well for the upper Midwest. We have a fresh water supply that the rest of the world is jealous of. The cost of living here is relatively low. The quality of life here is relatively high. I hope we can all agree on that. And people are going to come to us from the coast. I really believe that will happen as a result of climate change. I had to change the slide because it used to say Prince Charles. King Charles says, do we want to go down in history as the people who did nothing when we could have? Do we want to try to kick the can down the road another generation and another generation? You all have to make your own decisions on that. I don't think we should. I think the time to act is now. Really quickly, the solar era is here. All you need to know about this slide is when the yellow bars become bigger than the other colors and stay bigger, it's a renewable energy economy. It's a solar-driven economy. The Earth is bathed in more raw energy from the sun every day than every person on the Earth combined could possibly consume. So it's about harnessing that. Battery storage, right? Increasing the quality of the photovoltaics, which is well underway. Increasing manufacturing capacity, well underway. Okay, number 4. You probably already know this, but data is actually the new oil. Why? Because in 1965, Gordon Moore threw out a really impressive theory. He said, hey, I think computing power is doubling roughly every 18 to 24 months. And I think it's going to hold true for a while. And here we are today, 30 iterations later of doubling, doubling again, doubling again, doubling again. How many people have the newest iPhone on your right now? If you do, raise your hand or hold it up. Be proud. It's okay. It's okay. I'm jealous. I don't have it. You have 16 billion transistors in that one phone, capable of doing 17 trillion calculations per second. That's more computing power than every Apollo mission to the moon and back had in combination, okay? In your phone. Computing power, okay? Moore's Law. It's ushered in an era of Internet of Things. There's been a post-COVID tech pivot. Can we agree on that, right? We were stuck at home. We had to go to Zoom. We had to go to Teams. But there were so many other ways that we pivoted as well. And we've stuck with those pivots, right? That's why work from home or the balance between home and office is still a conversation. Social media's exploded. I have a great slide to show you on that. E-commerce, digital twins is the gateway to the metaverse, at least in my opinion. Coming quickly, 5G. Will create 10 to 100 times more data than we already have. Quantum computing probably replaces the integrated circuit board as the technology of choice as we move forward. And this is something I thought was really interesting when I was doing my research. Synthetic biology is actually growing 4 times faster than Moore's Law. So if Moore's Law is a thing, then synthetic biology is probably really a thing. It's just not my field. So Quotable, here's what they're saying about that. Information is the oil of the 21st century. Analytics, it's a combustion engine. And on the right, here's the takeaway. Every company today is a tech company. So I came here from Nashville. I was at the CBRE Industrial Conference. And you know what they were talking about there? They were talking about how they're a tech company. They just happen to specialize in industrial real estate and logistics. But they're a tech company. It's a complete different change of thinking. You all may want to think about that. So Nate Silver, not my favorite pollster. He gets a lot of stuff wrong, in my opinion. But he did say something that is very consequential. Every day, 3 times per second, so already it's happened a couple times, we produce the equivalent of the amount of data in the Library of Congress has in its entire collection. This is happening over and over and over, relentlessly, all day, every day. That's how much data is out there. So how do we harness it? Well, let me start with how much is actually produced. We all put out a footprint of over 6 gigabytes per person per day. Okay? And we're all probably above that because there's a lot of people on the earth who aren't even using the internet and aren't even putting out a footprint at all. So we're probably closer to 9 or 10 gigabytes per person per day. The numbers are staggering. The point I want to make on this slide is at the bottom. A relatively small number of companies control almost all of our data because we gave it to them for free. We didn't realize it had value. It could have been monetized. They knew. That's why they took it from us. Okay? Let's start with CoStar. Right? That's probably where it started. Facebook, Meta, the list goes on and on. Reclaim control of your data. Put a clause in your contracts that says the data created by this business partnership belongs to me. Or maybe it belongs to us, but exercise your rights of control over it so that you can monetize it at some point in time. Where else is this coming from? Well, it's certainly coming from the Internet of Things, but take a look at the chart on the right. This is 1 minute of every day. What happens? I don't know if you can see this between Amazon, Clubhouse, Instacart, Venmo, YouTube, Facebook. And I looked at it, and I looked at it, and I looked at it, and all of a sudden one number really jumped out at me. And it's the one I put the line around, TikTok. 167 million video views on TikTok in 1 minute of every day. And I don't even watch TikTok, okay? I don't even have the app on my phone. It's staggering. I think it's absolutely staggering. The data is coming at us relentlessly. We're coming to a day where we're going to be able to pay to take our data away from us rather than hoarding it and collecting us. It's just too much. Okay? Digital twins. We now have the computing power and the graphics capability to clone anything through software. Imagine being assigned a digital twin at birth. Imagine a doctor treating the digital twin before administering any sort of medical procedure or drug on you and having it be malpractice for not having done it that way. And think how many lives might be saved that way. Again, I was in Orlando over the weekend. They have a digital twin of the region. So before they ever build another Disney or another Universal or another convention hotel, they're going to simulate how it works and what it means to the area, to transportation, to roadways, to pollution, to jobs. It's brilliant when you think about it. There's no limit. It's so expansive that the European Space Agency has begun to make a digital twin of the entire Earth so that they can simulate climate change and predict before that storm hits the Midwest, before that tornado touches down, we know. Okay, takeaway number 5. Blockchain and AI are a big deal. These are what I call overlay technologies. They fit into, onto, or part of everything that you do from now on, even if you're not ready for it. Okay? Smart contracts, pretty low-hanging fruit. Digital currency. I'm not a biggest crypto fan. I know what happened to FTX. Okay? Crypto will be back with guardrails and guidelines. It's not going away. It's simply regrouping. I promise you that. Tokenization of real estate, certainly ushering in an era of decentralized Web3, automation, all with this exponential change. Here's what they're saying about blockchain. Everything will be tokenized and connected to a blockchain one day. Everything. It's a pretty big, bold statement. Blockchain's going to change everything more than the internet ever has. Here's what they're saying about AI. Breakthroughs in almost every industry in the next 10 years, transforming everything. Energy, disease, climate change, warfare, government, education. It's already upon us, okay? So back to the blockchain. How does it manifest itself in real estate? Well, here's just a couple examples. You'll be able to buy tokenized shares of real estate like a share of stock. You can own it for as short or as long as you want. Right now that's being debated whether that's an SEC-regulated event for an accredited investor or whether that's the real estate domain. So watch that closely. Certainly smart contracts are already here, sort of an if this happens, then that happens, automated, right? If this shipment arrives, then the payment is released. No disputes, instantaneous, okay? Supply chain, data marketplaces. You could use it for paying real estate taxes. You could use it for voting, right? It would fix all of our voting issues, honest to God. We just don't want to go there. All right. I'll summarize this slide really quickly. Blockchain for real estate, less friction, faster service. Doesn't that sound good? Safer, permanent record. Wouldn't that be good? Buying a house, buying a building, processing transaction. If you still don't believe me, look how many players there are in the space already. On the left, you have the real estate ecosystem. On the right, you have real-world use cases that are aggressively pursuing their trade through blockchain. More coming behind this. If you're still not convinced, there's actually a country in Central Europe. They claimed a piece of unclaimed land. It's a real place. I'm actually a passport holder of Liberland just because I thought it was cool. You can too. Pay your $100, go online. I haven't been there. But it's a 100% blockchain-run country. Everything in this country is on the blockchain. Check it out, Liberland. Google it. Okay, just to close the door on this, Bitcoin and therefore blockchain, greatest technical advances humanity's ever seen, make things bigger, make society better than we think it will. Right now, it's in that sort of deceptive part of the curve. It hasn't really hit the knee and gone skyward. Like that's what an exponential growth curve looks like. So people are sort of going, yeah, blockchain, it's not a thing. They tried it, it didn't work. Watch it closely, though. I think you're wrong. And meanwhile, AI hitting a stride, right? It's going to increase the global gross domestic product by at least 14% and $15 trillion in just the next 5 or 10 years. And again, I think this is really low. I think it's going to be much higher than that. It's already manifesting itself in our lives in all kinds of really simple, obvious ways: automation, smart buildings, virtual meetings and tours, social media. Have you ever been talking about a topic, I don't know, dogs, whatever, and the next ad that pops up on your phone is about dogs? Has anybody had that happen, right? Yeah, that's AI at work. It's already there, right? Certainly cybersecurity. Again, players are rushing into the space. Why? Well, Sundar, the CEO of Alphabet, the parent of Google, and the CEO of Google, said, hey, just so you know, AI is one of the most important inventions of all time. It's right up there with electricity and fire. Boy, the room got quiet. Okay, little story about this guy. How many people know James Whittaker? Probably not. You do? Awesome. Was it good? Did he drop the F-bomb about 100 times? Yeah, okay, so I'm not going to do that here today. I was lucky enough to be invited to a real estate technology speakers conference. We went to Jackson Hole. It was lovely. It's right before COVID. And he was there, and I was there, and about 14 or 15 other people were there. And he was sitting off to him side by himself. He's kind of a crass guy, definitely the smartest guy in the room, because he is. And the rest of us were having a debate. We were saying, you know, the most disruptive technology is robotics. No, it's blockchain. No, it's drones. No, it's this. No, it's... He's just sitting over there, and finally he comes over, and he said, you dummies, and he actually used the F word, which I'm not going to use, just don't get it. I'm listening to you. You're all stupid as a jar of rocks. It's not about any of those things. It's about AI. It's the most disruptive technology there is. It's AI, and then there's everything else. He literally said this to my face, and I've been using it ever since. And by the way, if you don't know who James is, he was the lead engineer on the browser called Explorer that Microsoft put out, the one that you probably use a lot. And then his team was poached by Google to bring us something called Chrome. So you can thank him for the browser experience that you have today, whether you like it or not. And by the way, he says the browser of the future is all motion. It's all hand gesture. There won't be any interface on the computer, in case you wanted to know that. You can't get through a presentation like this without evoking a little bit of Elon. Here's what he had to say about it.
Very close to the cutting edge in AI, and it scares the hell out of me. It's capable of vastly more than almost anyone knows, and the rate of improvement is exponential.
He has been saying for years to regulate and or eliminate AI because he knows what it's capable of. It will make good things great and will make bad things worse, and he's scared to death of it. You can Google all that. Here's sort of my depiction of what it ends up looking like. You have a smart city underpinned by smart contracts, by digital currency, by blockchain-driven things, by a blockchain-driven system with an overlay of AI in everything, everywhere, networked all the time, never has a bad day, never takes a day off. Looks maybe something like this. Okay, number 6, mobility is a big game changer. We have ubiquitous computing now because of Moore's Law, right? We can pretty much work anywhere we want and be effective there. So where will we go? Cost and distance have become relative. Transit-oriented development has a say in where we go and how we get there. We can take a scooter, we can take an e-bike, we can do something bigger, larger. There's autonomous vehicles, there's electronic vehicles, there's both. It's a game changer in cost. How many people know VTOL? Vertical takeoff and landing, right? So drones and air taxis. I think you're going to see buildings either purpose-built to be multimodal or mixed use with a multimodal center in them. And that will be the heartbeat of a neighborhood or a city. I think you can expect to see that soon. Really what we're headed for is mobility as a service, anywhere, anytime, as we want it. Take a look at this, this GIF on the right side. This is downtown Seattle. And try to think as you watch it roll through a couple times how you might reclaim your streetscape. Think how much money you might save in maintenance and management. So 200 people, 177 cars, take out the cars, now put them on bikes or buses, light rail. Pretty fascinating, right? Cars are probably the next industry, automobiles, to be completely disrupted in a way you're not expecting. Parts, service, sales, everything. Trucks, e-trucking, definitely coming our way. Big ticket stuff, construction equipment. Imagine an autonomous construction, set of construction equipment on a job site working 24/7. No people, no injuries, accelerated deliveries, lower costs. Police protection, mass transit, in the air, overseas, our satellites. Nothing's really immune from this, okay? In fact, let me just show you really quick a video of Uber Elevate's vision for VTOL in the future. Imagine on the Heinz building in Milwaukee or a new tower downtown. Imagine a VTOL port on top, right? Or a multimodal center. Might look something like this. The point is, she's home in time for dinner. She's bypassed the traffic. She's safe. And it was a fun experience. The opportunity here are the air rights. Monetizing the air rights over your building, over your property, so that this Uber Elevate aircraft or air taxi can fly in a particular path. That won't be everybody everywhere, but it will be some of us. There she is, home for dinner. Okay, so what this is, opens an era of competing clusters, competing regions. And again, I think this bodes very well for the Great Lakes. But I'm a Great Lakes kid, I'm biased. But I really think the Great Lakes will compete against the Great Plains and the Inland West and the Northeast, the Great Northeast, and so on and so forth. Rather than Chicago competing with Milwaukee, I think we're joining forces. Same with Detroit. I think we're joining forces to promote the Great Lakes region. Takeaway number 7, here comes Gen Z. How many people know Gen Z better than you think? I do, because I have 2 children that are Gen Z, so they tell me. So I've got a built-in education situation, I guess. I call it the instant gratification generation. But the point is, it's the biggest demographic group coming through. That means they're the workers of the future, they're the consumers of the future, they're decision makers of the future. And you have to get comfortable with this group. They're different than you think they are, and they're going to make an enormous impact on your lives. Takeaway number 8, it's about convergence. It's not about any one of these. It's about all these things happening at the same time, coming together, becoming the mainstream way of doing things to the point where we can't remember when it wasn't done this way. Okay? With a couple more iterations of Moore's Law, by 2032, $1,000 buys enough computing power that's equivalent of a human brain. 10 years later, you can buy all brains on the earth combined for $1,000. Singularity arrives. We'll talk about that in just a second. Internet of Things becomes Internet of Everything. Everything as a service. This is a scary one. Virtual reality and reality are completely indistinguishable. That's a hard one to think about. It's a hard one to manage. You have perfect data, perfect markets. You have low-cost energy. Really, really profound implications. I wish I had more time to go into that. The Singularity, this is Ray Kurzweil again. He's a predictor of the future. He's got an astonishing 87% accuracy rate with his predictions. And when the ones that he's been wrong on, he's really just been wrong by a year or 2 years. He really hasn't been that wrong, okay? And he says by 2045 in specific, we'll be able to multiply human intelligence a billion-fold. That's a singular event in nature. Computers will get smaller, 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 smaller. They'll be like little pills. We'll put them in our body. We'll swallow them. They'll make us healthier. They'll make us smarter. They'll make us better, okay? At that point, humans and machines come together as one. This is not my idea of a great future, by the way, but I am resigned to believe this is what's going to happen. It's also about, like I said, convergence. The more you can understand convergence, the more valuable you are to your organization and to your clients, of course. Number 9, everybody plays. There's no hiding. Digitization will find you. You need to do some upskilling. You may have to join partners with your competitor, with people that you wouldn't previously have thought of partnering with. You're on internet time now. You're not on atomic clock time anymore. There's no hiding, it will find you. Number 10, it's about resilience, because change is the constant. That's the only constant there is here. Flexibility, collaboration, right? Lifelong learning. I'd say, people ask me all the time, where do I start? Pick one thing that you like, just one small sliver that you're passionate about, that you're willing to self-educate on and invest in, and go deep with that. And you will have riches beyond, an abundance of riches beyond what you think. Love this quote. Resilience to me is about this. The day came when the risk to do nothing was more painful than the risk to try to change and grow with this new stuff. Charles Darwin withstood the test of time with this one. You don't have to be the strongest. You don't have to be the smartest. You have to be the most adaptable, right? Are there X factors? You bet. I think they're pretty self-explanatory. What you should really look at here is the exponential curve that tech change is on. Social change doesn't move that quickly. Business change doesn't move as quickly as social, and certainly political or governmental change, slowest of all of them. These are all X factors. How many people have been hacked, by the way? Everybody should be raising your hand. You don't think you've been hacked? Really? You've been hacked like 100 times, okay? Why? Because the enemy knows the system better than we know how to stop it. What happens if we lose access to the power grid or to the cloud or to the internet? And I don't mean for an hour. I mean for 3 weeks or 4 weeks or 6 months. To me, this is the weakest link of all. I have not gotten a satisfactory answer from anybody on this. Oh, we'll have technology, it'll fix it. Okay, I don't know. All right, real estate implications. A couple quick points here. We're in short supply of power. And you will hear more and more about this as a real estate community this year, next year, for the foreseeable future. I can tell you as a real estate developer, we do data centers and things like that. It's a real issue. And it's 3, 4, 5 years to get it at hyperscale grade, okay? We continue to want on-demand flex space. We want to hedge against uncertainty. I don't know that 10-year leases with full TI fit-outs are our future. I know why that model works. I've made a fortune off it in my career. I don't think it's the model moving forward. It may not be called WeWork. It might be called something else, but it's coming. And last I want to talk about on this slide is DICE. It's something that I coined for a retail conference several years ago. Remember when retail real estate was going off a cliff? Everybody's freaking out. DICE stands for differentiation, inspiration, community, and experience. DICE. And my theory is you have to have a healthy dose of all 4 of those if you think your real estate can withstand the test of time based on all the information that I'm sharing with you today. That's true for retail, but you know what it turned out? It's true in the warehouse. It's true at the Heinz Tower, okay? It's true at a hotel. It's true everywhere. Think about it. I stayed at the Kin Guest House last night, by the way. Anybody been there? Really cool, super cool. No people, fully automated. Code, let myself in, help myself to some food. Comfortable, beautiful, nice. It was experiential. It was different. There's a community there. It was inspiring. It had all those things, literally. Again, we've covered most of this stuff. I'll give you a minute to sort of eyeball it without reading it to you. Certainly supply chain and last mile and reverse logistics can be experiential as well, right? If you have a good experience returning stuff, will you buy more stuff from that place? Probably. Okay, ESG and decarbonization, you're going to hear more about this. You may see it in the form of urban farming right here in downtown Milwaukee. I'm not aware of any, but I'm sure there probably is. Legal insurance has to evolve in order for us to get there. I'm scared to death for the appraisal industry. We'll be fully automated before we know it. I spoke at their conference, by the way, and they told me that. They're scared to death. And I think that's true. Instead of being admitted to Marquette University for 4 years, why can't I have lifelong learning there? Why can't I be admitted and come back every time I need to upskill? I think that's a model we should be talking about. How many people think you're done with roommates? Affordability dictates that over time, you may be co-living again. You may actually have roommates as you get older. You may have to, aging in place. Certainly affordable housing is a huge issue. I wish I had more time to get into that here. Office space is going to be tough to bring back to where it once was. I'm giving a keynote speech on that in the spring, the Office of the Future, and we're going to talk more about that. But I think what you're going to see is robust infrastructure that you wouldn't put into your own homes that will allow you to broadcast and network in a robust way. Think about holograms and really compressed data transfer. You go to the office for that and for showcasing, right? But you won't go to the office for the traditional desk stuff that we used to. Retail breaks down along this line, experiential versus commodity. If it's commoditized, you're just going to order from Amazon. If you want an experience, you're going to go there to get it. I think industrial mission critical are probably your safest asset classes for the foreseeable future for any number of good reasons. Bottom line is this: you have to get to the future ahead of your customers and be ready to greet them when they arrive. That's why we're here today, I think. Last thought is more wealth will be created in the next 10 years than at any other time in recorded history. Fortune favors the brave. Find your niche, find your slice, pursue it with passion, partner up, but get going. With that, I thank you very much for having me here today.